I'm here with Lucy Paget. She's the founder of Intrinsi, as well as the Natural Movement Center here in Calgary, Alberta. We've known each other for a number of years. We actually met as we were both kind of beginning our businesses, myself, the light seller, and Lucy, your business at that time was called the English Osteopaths.
It was.
That's right. Lucy is originally from England, at least your family is. Mine too, actually. And osteopaths, but you've now evolved into Intrinsi and added the Natural Movement Center. I'm sure we're going to touch upon that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring you on, let folks get to know you if they don't already. I'm sure a number of people watching know of you and your work and the center. But just share a little bit about your journey with health, wellness, food, nutrition. So you can go back as far as you want, or as little, as brief as you want. But what I find it's always interesting to hear people's story of, we can see what you're doing and how active you are in the community now, but I know it always hasn't been that way. I'm sure you've had your ups and your downs and your journeys and trials and tribulations to bring you where you are now, offering what you're offering.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go back to when I was doing my first degree, which was an English kind of cultural studies degree at McGill. And if I had known at that time that I was going to be where I am at now, I think I probably would have burnt myself at the stake back then. But this is to say, if you're kind of on your journey and starting to venture into the unknown, it's a really great journey, and I'm happy to be where I'm at now. But I had a really conventional upbringing, and parents very, very conventional. Sent me off to the doctor, gave me antibiotics every time I had a sore throat.
Right.
And then in my 20s, I had finished my degree, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was at such a loose end that I dived into a yoga course, which just seemed like something to do. It was a little bit more than that. There was like a bit more depth to it, but it was just really in that space of like, God, what am I going to do with myself? So I dived into a yoga teacher training back here in Calgary, and I was really lucky because my aunt in the UK was also a yoga teacher, and as soon as I'd finished my yoga teacher training, I went back to London and she set me up with classes. So from the get-go, I was able to make enough money to support myself in London just teaching yoga.
Wow.
So then I was teaching away, and I discovered osteopathy. And I thought, okay, well, I feel like just being a yoga teacher isn't quite enough. I want to do something more. And though I didn't know what osteopathy was, as perhaps you listening, you may not know what osteopathy is. And of the various physical forms of healing, so we have physiotherapy, we've got chiropractic, massage, osteopathy falls into that umbrella. It seemed like the most alternative, and I was going this alternative route with yoga, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to choose that one. Mm-hmm. So I studied osteopathy, and many times wanted to quit because I started studying, and it was a little bit not nearly as intense as going to med school, but the first year the anatomy was like learning Japanese. It was horrible. And then eventually, finished studying, and during that time discovered all these kind of wild and crazy things about healing. The stories that we hear about the healers who lay on their hands and suddenly the bone is healed. I had a few experiences during my training that made me realize that, wow, that exists.
It's possible. Yeah.
Like, how inspiring is that? Cool. That, I had previously had a knee injury. My mom had taken me to a physio, and, they just thrown an ultrasound on, and it was nothing really changed.
Yeah.
And then I had this experience when someone put a hand on the back of my head, and I saw a light coming at me, and I didn't say anything because I wondered, well, is he seeing this light coming at us? What's going on? And actually, the whole session was just quiet. Like, I didn't reveal that I'd had this kind of wild moment of healing. I got up from the table, sauntered off. Yeah. But the world had changed from that experience.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really amazing. So, kind of meandered along through a healing journey and learning how to heal other people. And then I moved here with my husband, and we set up our clinic. And then we changed the name of our clinic from the English Osteopaths because, to start with, we were 2 English people, and then we hired non-English people, and the name was just too small.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you meet Ed at osteopathic school?
I did, yes.
I did, okay.
Yeah, we studied together.
Right, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, really interesting. I mean, I know you started off with like, if we could really see where we're going, that path, but it's the journey that it can get tough, but it's really what we end up through it. And anyone listening, if you're going through that tough time, right? I mean, yeah, times are tough. We live on this earth in this body, and but we make it through it, and it's what we come out at the end, right? Is the best. And and that there's resources out there, whether it's kind of a physical thing with knee problems or emotional, whatever, it's all related. And like you say, osteopathy is just one of those another tools that's out there.
Yeah, exactly. I actually was just at a course. I've been studying plant medicine, and I was at a course, and the teacher said to us, she's like, change is not meant to be comfortable.
Right.
Change is our teacher.
Yeah.
So make good choices.
Right.
She was, she was pretty just clear and, clear and to the point with that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, there's that term in perturbation. Yeah, that the idea of the coal into diamonds, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So tell us about this course that you're doing, studying plant medicine. How's that been?
It's been amazing, and I started doing it because the last few years I've been becoming more and more interested in herbs, and in my hands-on practice I've been kind of getting some good wisdom, good head knowledge about what different herbs are used for. And then I've been taking little vials of herbs and supplements and placing them on people's body, and rather than doing muscle testing, I've just been feeling like, if I put this or that on someone's body, how does their health feel? And the way I treat when I put my hands on people, I'm looking for pulls within the tissues that might tell me, okay, there's a bit of asymmetry here or there, but I'm also looking for a quality which I call vitality, and it's a felt sense. You can absolutely feel it in your fingertips. There'll be a sense of expansion, a sense of the energy field, a sense of the physical tissues as well, and their kind of vibrancy.
Wow.
And so sometimes when I put herbs on, which I think are the right herbs, and I'm still kind of learning to see whether this is true or not, I'll feel a real increase in that sense of vitality. So that's led me to want to study with other people who can just teach me more.
Yeah.
And there's a couple down in California who, one of them mainly teaches permaculture, but is very interested in herbs, and one woman is an indigenous woman from Southern California, and so I'm getting this really lovely infusion of knowledge, both from a kind of more Western perspective and then from a kind of First Nations indigenous perspective.
Right.
And what's lovely about the two teaching is that they're actually trying to take off those labels of, well, this is European, this is from North America, and actually just pointing to the plants themselves and saying it's the plants that have the knowledge.
Yeah.
For thousands and thousands of years, the plants have had the knowledge. And even though lineages have been broken hundreds of years ago with persecutions less than hundreds and hundreds of years ago, if we are able to go to the plants and learn how to go to the plants themselves, then we can gather the knowledge.
Right.
And what's been really interesting, it makes me wonder if in that state where I've had a few experiences where I've got knowledge directly from plants, perhaps that knowledge is more pertinent to me and how I see the world and how I can help people. Perhaps not. It's a discovery.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's neat. I mean, it's relates to what you're saying, in your practice of putting your hands on someone, right, and really receiving the information from them. Yeah, and I like that approach. That's kind of how I've been, approaching plant medicine as well, coming at it from more that kind of intellectual side of, okay, well, this herb does this and that, but knowing and wanting to really explore, well, there's this other way of knowing, and I think it comes from that more indigenous way, and exactly as you say, it comes through feeling, right? It's more of an intuitive knowing, and our intuition is based in feeling something deeper, and you can't always necessarily intellectualize it, but if you can bring that together, that's the ideal, is have those two. You have a thought, okay, here's what I think's going on, you pick out a herb, Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's
So
lovely.
now it's getting out into the nature, and has that become a hobby of yours? I'm sure it has. I know you've been gardening for a little while, and going and walking in the forest.
Yes, this year's been fun. So my homework is so fun. Like make this tincture, make that salve. Like that's homework.
Right.
And so one day I went out into the forest, and this is really beautiful part of the forest, just a little north, like walking kind of 30 minutes north of my house.
Yeah.
And I walk through this part of the forest, and it feels different from other parts. And there's little zones. There's like a pocket I walk through that feels gentle, and there's a pocket that I walk through and I almost feel a little kind of nervous.
Right.
And really what I notice as I look at the plants around me, the plants are different. So anyhow, I went and gathered some dandelion roots, and I went to this little pocket of the forest that I just think is really wonderful, and I dug around for some dandelion roots with the crappiest little spade. I took the wrong spade. So, but making a tincture was one of the really fun things I got to do out of dandelion roots after I'd had a nice connection and a nice kind of gathering of information.
Yeah.
Getting some yarrow, getting some red clover, and a bunch of other things, some horsetail as well. I've got them all kind of sitting on my desk so that when I'm doing my other work, I also have my tinctures and the salves that I'm making lined up so that I can appreciate them and enjoy them as they're stewing.
Right, cool. Which, totally speaks to, I think, that other side of healing. Sure, the plants have physical chemicals, and again, science can analyze that and say, this is what's in dandelion that, supports the liver, da-da-da-da-da. But it's just that other way of being, and, being in our bodies and just opening ourselves up and having that relationship with plants. That takes us deeper into ourselves and is part of that healing journey, because by doing that, as you go into yourself, you're opening up, you're going to find places of where maybe it's not so comfortable, and of course that related to emotions, and if you can be there and release that, and interesting journey. It's all related, right?
It's all related. But it's one thing to go back to the beginning, saying that I didn't know who I would become, and of course that state of becoming is a continually evolving piece. And right now I'm in a transition where I haven't been treating many people over the summer, and I've jumped into doing some creative writing.
Right.
Always as a kid I wanted to be a writer, but my mother said no, that can be a hobby. But I decided this summer that I still want to be writing, and I still am interested in creative writing, so I just pressed pause on treating people for a little while to work on creative writing, and I'm in a total place of unknown and uncertainty, and it's really uncomfortable.
Right.
So although I have this beautiful business, amazing natural movement center and clinic, right now I'm trying to do work that puts me in a state of unknown, and there's a part of me each day when I sit down. Well, if it's each day, it's not always each day. But when I sit down to write, there's a part of me that's like, my sense of achievement is much easier to get when I'm treating or when I'm solving a business problem.
Right.
Whereas when I'm writing, it's like, well, where am I going with this story? I know the container, I don't know what the next step is, but I know that there is a path through this. And interestingly, when I am out in nature and I've spent a day gathering plants, or I've done a little bit of work and looking in books to learn about plants, my writing is better. So it's just so interesting how the pieces come together.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I think I can relate, and I've been talking to other people too about this year. It's 2017, and it just I've definitely taken some shifts. And there was a friend of mine, and I don't know astrology personally. I've never really studied it, but I'm fascinated by it. And those that really know and that can like dive deep and like, oh yeah, well that's because this is a 1 year. Whatever that means,
and
right?
It's a 1 year right now, isn't it?
So it's like a new cycle. So if you find yourself going through, like new shifts and new ways of being, it could be that, that connection to that. Mm-hmm. And I was reading an article by Gary Vaynerchuk. He's like a kind of social media, guy, guru out there, and super ambitious, just high achiever, and kind of similar to you. You don't know the end destination, but you just need to go forward. Just do it, whatever you're being called to do. Yeah. And as you go, like walking down the trail, then you'll reach your destination.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about natural movement because that's an area of interest, and especially for a lot of us watching, maybe we're into plants, maybe we're into health through food, through nutrition, or even physical therapy. This idea of natural movement is really intriguing, and yeah, let's jump off from that.
Well, I love to move, and so I have really enjoyed learning many different disciplines of movement. And for a long time, it was yoga, and then yoga didn't feel so great on my body, and so I stopped doing yoga. And interestingly, with yoga, and I will get back to natural movement, but I was really a lot of the time using yoga for the physical benefits.
Right.
And what was happening, that's fine, totally fine, but what was happening is I was getting really kind of caught up because on the one hand I was like, okay, great physical benefits, but I should be meditating, and there was a bit of a battle going on. And so then I explored some other things and eventually came to learn from a guy down in the States, a Frenchman called Erwan Lacour, who does a style of movement called MoveNat.
Yeah.
And it's MoveNat natural movement naturel. And it's really, I was like, oh, this is so fun. This is movement for movement's sakes, but it's just really looking at the full range of movements that from kind of biomechanical perspective, our bodies are designed to do.
Yeah.
It's very, very obvious, like what is the full range of motion that our joints should be able to do, and what are some of the more primitive evolutionary movements that our body has been designed to do. So that includes crawling, it includes jumping, it includes climbing, because there's a line connecting some of the muscles in the arms down through the torso, and throwing, catching, the kind of things, if we look back to a much earlier existence when we didn't have tables and chairs and beds to sleep on, that our bodies would have more naturally been doing.
Yeah.
And if we actually look to cultures who, let's say, don't have table and chairs as a really easy example, then we see much better range of movement through the hips.
Totally.
And we see much more strength as well, because getting up and down off the floor that many times creates a lot of strength, a lot of flexibility in the ankles, the knees, the hips.
Right, totally. Even cultures, and going to the bathroom, right? Those I've traveled in India, and it's a hole in the floor, and it's all about squatting versus,
Exactly. And there's such a strong connection between how our joints are designed to move and our internal digestive health, health of our lungs. You could look at every organ and notice that if we are moving well, then we're creating really good blood supply to the areas we're pumping out, kind of draining stagnant areas that we don't move as well when we are sitting like Malcolm and I are right now.
Yeah.
And I have I've got a very strong desire to kind of kick people in the ass and just like, come on, let's change, like let's and I've treated thousands of people and had a lot of frustrations about the lack of exercise. People will come to me for a treatment, and some people are pretty motivated and take care of themselves, and some people will just come to me for a treatment and they won't change anything else. Yeah. And to me, that's not okay. We have, I think the point of being alive is to lead purposeful life and to continually work to become a better person so that you can achieve what you have been born to do.
Totally.
So in order to do that, we have to be healthy. We've got to take care of our physical beings. It's not enough just to go, okay, I'm going to get a treatment once a month. It's not enough just to eat well. We have to really, one of the kind of mantras that my husband and I have is reconnecting the dots between movement, nutrition, health, wellness, community, and you could keep expanding that out. It's this reconnection. Yeah. And movement is part of that. So natural movement simply is a restorative form of regaining our abilities. And of course, depending on where we're at in our lives, we may be able to restore some or all of that ability. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of fun. So the workout, I do not like going to a gym. Yeah. I do not like I was recently on a holiday and I did some cross training and I just wanted to vomit. It was just hard work and horrible. Whereas natural movement, even though it's a workout, I find it to be fun. There's a playful side to it. Yeah. So in terms of this spectrum as well in the healing journey, the reason that as a clinic we were able to open a movement center is that you have this spectrum. So when you're injured, the first thing you want is to be pain-free. And then from there, you want to start to increase your range of movement. increase your strength and your confidence. Confidence
Right.
is such a huge part of
Yeah.
recovery. And so the hands-on treatment ideally should be combined with a therapeutic movement program, and then taking that therapeutic movement program into something that's really about strengthening and pushing your limits so that you become a more capable person.
Right, totally. Yeah, no, I love the concept. I mean, again, many people watching, we've been down this path of, because we've all been off with our diet, and it's like, okay, how do we come back to, what's the optimal diet? Well, you looked at what's quote unquote natural, right? And this idea of natural living, and it was almost so obvious, yet it took a lot of us a long time, and even Irwin the Core, like, oh, well, this is how humans are.
It's like, it's all so obvious if we just look at the principles in play in nature, in evolution.
Yeah.
It's really simple.
Yeah, for sure. So it's about coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, cool. Anything else you want to kind of share? I know we touched on quite a bit here.
Give me a pointer there.
A pointer?
A pointer, yes. Because there's...
Yeah, well, we talked about natural movement. We talked a little bit about herbs. Maybe we haven't delved too much into nutrition. Anything you want to share there? I know you lead like sugar detoxes, and you've done that, and that obviously came out of your own personal experience doing it, seeing the benefit. And,
yes, yeah. So again, reconnecting the dots. So at our clinic, the focus was initially just on physical healing, and then we expanded out to natural movement to incorporate that piece.
Yeah.
But within that, there needs to be great nutrition. Yeah. So we've brought Malcolm in a few times to come and speak to clients. And for me, part of my journey after having a couple of kids was actually getting really, really sick and being on the verge of an autoimmune breakdown of some kind. So my joints were really achy and I was exhausted, and when I did any kind of movement, I needed to rest afterwards, and it very often would just kick up this kind of flu-like symptoms. So I had about a year after my second child was born where I was just really, really exhausted. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that was some really, really big adrenal fatigue, and part of it was the beginning of an autoimmune condition.
Right.
And I had been 90% gluten-free since my early 20s, but only 90%.
Right, yeah.
And amazingly, after a year or so of just feeling terrible with my son, I was like, okay, well, 90%, maybe that 10% makes a difference. So I took out 10%, and within about a week, I was so much better.
Right.
But then the other piece was sugar. And I'd listened to a podcast by Diane Sanfilippo, who's written some books.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do her 21-day sugar detox. And it was just so transformative. And so, through my experience, then I brought that into the clinic as well. Right. And we've had a lot of success getting people to shift. In that 3 weeks, it's wonderful because it's short.
Yeah.
And it's achievable.
Yeah.
And it gives you enough time to notice whether or not there's going to be change. So we run continual 21-day sugar detoxes kind of 3 or 4 times through the year. So we do that. And we have in-house talks at the clinic. Once a month we'll have one of our professionals talk about a different area of the body.
Right.
And then we also have what we call our expert panel, where we record a couple of our therapists, again, talking about a different area of the body, so that the people who can't make the talks can get them through our social media platforms. So there's a lot of knowledge, because ultimately when you've got knowledge, it's so empowering. Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how can we connect with you online in the greater wide web world here? So our website is intrinsi.ca, intrinsi.ca, and our social media platforms, so Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, are all intrinsi.thrive. That's how you can find us and gather lots of really good information. And come check us out either by trying some natural movement classes, coming to one of the talks that we do, or coming and booking in for an osteopathic treatment or physiotherapy or massage. Yeah, right on. And it's an absolutely gorgeous clinic and center, so I highly recommend that you go there, and it just feels good.
and is on the right track. So thanks for joining us and sharing your stories and your wisdom.
Thank you.
All right.